Hey, this is the McGuire Review, and I'm going to take a look at the new Warcraft figs that just come out from Jakks. These are actually really nice. You know, Jakks does a great job with the World of Nintendo figs. I've got quite a few of those. I display them with my SH-Figuarts stuff, and they look pretty good. I mean, when they're in a case, a couple feet away, it's hard to kind of tell the difference sometimes. And those Jakks figs are $7.99, you know. So in comparison to an SH-Figuarts, it's looking around the price tag of $30 to $40 for some of those. So I'm glad the Jakks picked up the Warcraft merchandise here with these figs. There's actually 4 in the first wave. You've got Lothar here, and I also picked up Durotan. I thought that out of the 4, these two looked the best, had the best sculpting. Pretty much your main characters. There is one more human figure. It's the mage, and then there's one more orc figure, which is actually Blackhand, the leader of the leader of that particular clan. So, you know, when we take a look at these figures, I'll say right off the bat, the packaging was done really nicely with these. If you look at these packs, you can see you've got a nice window box up front, and you've got visibility of the figure from both sides. They don't always do that. Sometimes you got one and then they kind of close off the other one and you might have some artwork. I really like it when the packaging kind of gives you that that 3-side view. And then up front, you'll see on both the packs, you've got some really nice artwork right here of the figure, or well, in this case, the digital character here, and the human character played here of the figure. And then on the back, you've got some details about the actual character, as well as some articulation points. This has 14 points of articulation for Lothar, and Durotan has 11 points of articulation. And then you got a nice picture of the figure. So what I want to do is we'll go ahead and we'll get into these. I'm going to go ahead and open up this one here first.
Get this piece of tape out of here, and I'm going to go in from the top, because I think that's just the best way to do it on this one. Get that. Cut each one of these bands. Ever so softly, I'm not cutting the figure. Don't want to do that. So, take these in there. And cut the axe out. Be a little careful with this one. Okay, now that we got everything out of the pack.
I'll start with the axe here. The axe looks really good. I mean, the sculpt on it is, you know, it's not super incredibly detailed, but it's detailed enough, and it's detailed enough that would be movie accurate. And it looks good with the style of how they've done these figures. It's got some really nice sculpting down here in the leather wrap on the handle, and I'll have pictures up close here at the end so you can check that out. And I really like the way that they did with this blade, giving it kind of that very jagged stone-like appearance on that axe, and it's pretty good size. So on the inside, you've got some nice artwork here from one of the orc camps. Definitely, if you're an in-the-box kind of person, it just gives it a really good feel. If you're going to leave it up on the shelf, you know, in the package. Again, and if you're an out-of-the-box fig kind of guy like I am, I like to take them out, kind of set them up. If you like to do that, you can get creative if it's something where you're not going to want to put it back in the box, maybe for resale later. You can get creative and kind of cut out those backgrounds and make yourself like a nice little background scene if that's something that you'd want to do. And I've seen lots of people do, and quite frankly, I've done with a couple different things. So I'll set this here. And I'm going to get Lothar out, and then let's talk through the figs and give you kind of thoughts on what I think about them. Okay, so we've got Lothar out of the pack now, and you'll see he comes with a nice background of Stormwind there. That's a really cool scene. I really like that. I like that quite a bit better than what they've got on the backing of Durotan. This is really cool. That's neat. I kind of would have liked to seen it be it's a little light. It's kind of faded. It would have been nicer if it was a little crisper. It's almost like they added in. I don't know if it's just the way it was printed or if it's supposed to look like it's got some fog kind of going up the hill there with the castle. It would have been nice if it was a little crisper. You can see a little bit better. Get this stuff out of my way. And I'll go ahead and start here with Lothar. You know, he looks pretty good. I like the sculpting. The paint looks nice. You know, I think the sculpting on the face is good enough, right, for this fig. They probably could have put maybe a little more detail, but it looks pretty good. I mean, they've got a couple like scars kind of, you know, cut into his face. The eyebrows are nice and crisp. The eyes are nice and crisp with the painting. I think the beard looks pretty good. So this is what's throwing me off here with this beard. And I'll show the pictures here at the end, but as the beard kind of comes up, it doesn't actually sculpt and get painted all the way up into his hairline. It stops about right here, and it just kind of rounds off on either side. I'm not sure why they would have done that. It looks a little strange to me. And I'll also say the head articulation, you've basically got, you know, side to side. You do not have any up and down. And you can see if it's basically on a, well, I could probably pull it off. It's basically on just a solid peg. And you could pop that head right off. But it does not have any up and down articulations, just side to side. So, you know, you're going to be limited a little bit there on your posing. And it's got a nice ball joint for the arm. You got full motion there. I'm actually pretty happy with how high the arm actually can come up, even with these shoulder pads. And this one on this side's a little bit bigger, but you can see both arms can come up and out that far. I mean, you can't get them up here, but that's pretty good articulation when a fig's got these shoulder pads like this, and they are completely, you know, I wouldn't say it's a really, really stiff plastic as what you would find on the main body of this. It's actually a little bit of a pliable plastic on these shoulder pads, so you can actually get yourself a little bit more just due to that design. So that's nice. And I'll also say that the material here on this bottom part is definitely, you know, it's a flexible material. So you're going to get yourself a little bit better of leg articulation there, but it is going to be fairly limited. It is flexible, but you're still kind of limited inside of that space. So not a lot of articulation there with the legs. It's got a single joint knee. It does have front and back on the ankle. And you've got some really good motion there. It does not have any ankle pivot whatsoever. On your hands, it's basically just rotation. That's it. You've got a single joint elbow, and that's on a ball joint as well, so you can get a lot of different rotation there. And that's about it with this figure. It does have a hip swivel. It does not have any. It has no ab crunch. Do have a hip swivel. So, you know, I think your poses are going to be fairly limited. But quite frankly, you know, with this kind of figure, I think that you could probably get him in a pretty cool pose. You know, that's probably going to be more of kind of your standard look or your standard pose. I just did that on the wrong side. The shield goes on this side. And he does come. There's no other hands that he comes with, so you basically have your sword grip hand, and you have your hand that's more kind of open, which, you know, you can clip your shield on, and that shield just has simply a little claw clip on the back of it that clips right on the gauntlet of his armor. So, you know, you can get him in a nice pose. More of just kind of your classic stance. So we'll put him right over there, and I will say he does stand very solid. That I don't see him having any problems falling over. He's got a nice solid stance and feel to him. So that's Lothar. I'm going to say Durotan here is probably my favorite fig out of this first line, and I'll say that because he has got an immense amount of sculpting on him. I mean, the sculpting is just fantastic, the way that they have done. Now, I will say there's some trade-offs, right? I mean, it is limited the amount of articulation. This one again has 11 versus we got 14 here. So the articulation is a little bit limited due to all of this that he's wearing. And his head is quite a bit different. He does not have any movement whatsoever. So his head is literally just on, it's pretty much a plastic, it's not even a peg. I mean, it's just a plastic block here that, quite frankly, I think mine just came apart. It's supposed to be glued because I can see some glue here. So I'll probably just hit it with a little bit of super glue later and put that back on. But there is zero articulation on this guy's head. So he's not even going to get the side to side. That's a little disappointing. I would have liked to have seen that. Outside of that, you know, that's about as high as your arms are going to go. It is on a full rotation ball joint. You do have a single joint elbow, and you're not going to get a lot of movement there. It's very, very limited due to this large kind of bone slash, oh, there goes the head, bone slash chain, you know, gauntlets that he's got here on his arms. But these things look awesome, man. I love the sculpting of these things. They look so cool. And I love the sculpting just in the rest of, like, his boots having, you know, this stone here coming off the back looks awesome. The way they've sculpted up this like kilt type thing that he's wearing with the feathers and the various bones. The way this bone here looks right on his right on his belt. It just, everything looks great, and the paint job looks really good. The way that that's washed and painted, it just looks really, really good. The only thing I would say is here on the back, it's quite a bit lighter here through the back, and maybe that'd be movie accurate when we see the movie here. It's quite a bit lighter here on the back than it is in the front. They really did. It almost is like they did twice the amount of washing on the front than they did the back, and I think it would have looked a lot better, and it would have brought out a lot more of that detail and that tone that they sculpted into his back, because the sculpting on his back is great. They would have put a little more wash on it. I think it would have came out a little bit better on this fig, and it would have looked a little bit better. I'll also say the sculpting on his head is really good, and the sculpting on his face is probably 2 or 3 times better than what I've seen on any of the other sculpts of this line. Not sure why, but easily 2 times better. The ears are much more detailed in their sculpting and the way that they look. The eyes, the whole like brow area, the nose, it's just got a really, really good sculpt and look to it. And the paint job on the eyes on this one is done very well. And quite frankly, I'm really impressed on how they did the paint job with the eyebrows and the brow and the eyes on this particular one. You know, some of these other ones that aren't as deeply set are quite a bit easier to do from a manufacturing process because, you know, the paint doesn't have to be injected into the mold as far. And I think it's a little easier to kind of pull those off when the eye is closer to the main base of the face. You know, when you look at this sculpt here, these eyes are actually set pretty deep. They're sculpted in there pretty deep, and for the whites and the whites, the blues, and that little black pupil to be so pinpoint, I'm really impressed. You know, these lower price figures, I got these for $19.99 at Toys R Us. They also go for, I've seen them upwards of $24.99, but I picked mine up for $19.99 at Toys R Us. It's just a great figs for the price point, and I'm really impressed with the way that these look. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get any more of the first line. These two again were definitely my favorite, and he only has one hand to hold this axe, so it's only going to go on this one side. He's got a very solid stance as well. I mean, he's not going anywhere. But again, that's all you got. That's all you're working with there. I mean, you could bend those knees, but again, on this model, and I forgot to call this out, you have 0 ankle articulation on this model. It is just a solid piece of plastic. There isn't even back and forth. So there isn't really much of a need to even bend his knees, because you can't really do anything else with the foot. So, I mean, quite frankly, they probably could have just saved themselves some manufacturing and not even put in a knee joint in there, because there really is no need, except for if you want to get him in some kind of like lean back, you know, swinging battle pose. But again, you can't really. It's kind of hard to get that sort of pose going. Like he's Matrix style or something. You'd have to have something behind him, sort of supporting him to keep him up. And that I don't even know if that really looks right. There's just not enough articulation in the arms to, I think, pull off that type of pose. I don't know. I could probably get kind of close, but it just I don't know. It doesn't really look right. And once you start to kind of lean that guy back a little bit, he's so top heavy. He's just gonna topple right over. So he's definitely, if you want him to stay up without any type of backing or support, you're gonna have to keep him straight up, straight up like that. So. I think, again, Jakks did a good job, I think, for the price point and the way these figs look. Don't get overly excited about these being highly posable and really dynamic. I just don't think you're going to get that from this line, at least for this first wave. But they definitely look really, really cool, and I'm a big Warcraft fan, so I'm good to go with them. I'm glad I purchased. So this has been the McGuire review. We'll see you guys later.
Sure.